Mike Papantonio, America's lawyer and host of Ring of Fire Radio, ringofireradio.com, and Ring of Fire TV over on Free Speech TV, is on the line with us. Mr. Papantonio.
Tom, good to talk to you.
Great having you with us. I've been watching this Jeb Bush saga unfold. His son coming out and saying, yeah, he's going to run for president. And then he says, oh, boys will be boys. But, you know, he's behaving like a guy running for president. And I don't know if you caught it this morning, but John Huntsman's dad was on Morning Joe, and he said, you know, I want Jeb Bush. And we're hearing this from a lot of party regulars, that Jeb Bush, this is going to be Bush v. Clinton.
I make it a point to rarely watch Morning Joe,
yeah.
But it doesn't surprise me. Look, it's interesting. You know, yesterday Jeb Bush is out talking about Obama handling the Ebola crisis wrong. Now, that's for a reason. He's trying to put himself into a natural stature and say, look, I have the ability to handle these things. But what Jeb Bush fails to say is that President Obama is doing everything that the best scientists and medical experts in the world are telling him to do and how to handle Ebola. Jeb's criticism of Obama as being as incompetent is exactly what you expect these days, really from a GOP Tea Party talking head type. And what's interesting, Tom, is Republicans have worked so hard to keep all the Jeb Bush character defects away from the public eye. The GO plan was to roll Jeb out as this new, improved, intelligent version of George W. They wanted him to look like Daddy. They sure didn't want him to look like Big Brother.
Yeah.
But now we see his anti-science side, and we start seeing his Tea Party side is emerging day by day.
So how, you know, Jeb Bush was governor. The one consequential event that I know of when he was governor was he ordered Katherine Harris to purge 80,000
yes.
African Americans off the voting rolls, which put his brother within stealing distance of an election. Are there, A, is that accurate? And B, what are some of the things that people need to know about Jeb Bush when he was governor of Florida? You live in that state.
Well, first of all, you're absolutely accurate. He knew exactly what he was doing. He committed fraud. Katherine Harris was part of the team that helped commit fraud. And so the story with Jeb Bush is that nationally they've worked so hard to make him look like he's different, that maybe he's not Ted Cruz or Mike Huckabee or Rick Perry or Rand Paul or et cetera, et cetera. But what's wrong with that picture is that for years the GOP has guarded this secret that old Jeb really is no different than every Tea Party type who ever carried a sidearm or some insane protest sign to a town hall meeting. They've done a very good job masking all that because he says the right things. They forget, the media doesn't even know that he wrote the mission statement along with Rumsfeld and Wolfowitz and all Cheney, all the war crazies. He wrote the statement for PNAC. And PNAC, of course, was this organization that got us in the war with Iraq, wanted to get us in the war with Syria and Iran. And so it is a misunderstanding that media has perpetuated that this guy is different. Project for a New American Century, if you want to understand how crazy Bush is, little Jeb Bush is, go look at what the Project for a New American Century had to say. Basically, it was about world dominance. It looked like Dr. Strangelove had written the damn thing. It is that we are to invade, attack, and use our military might to, again, improve our stature in the world. This is a creepy, creepy guy. And unfortunately, the media has been complicit in trying to make it look like he's almost normal. He's been the GOP's kind of secret weapon, but he's as much of a dud as every other candidate who's going to be trying to be elected on the ticket. He's not the ace in the hole for GOP, and hopefully when he gets out there on the national stage, we'll start seeing it. Listen, you want to know what he's about? He's no different than the rest of them. You know, he's anti-government, he's anti-science, he's pro-big corporation, he's anti-intellectual, he's anti-education. There is no difference from this guy and every other Tea Partier that shows up in Crazyville. But the media has done such a poor job. They've given him such a pass. They don't talk about his involvement in the S&L burn down. What did he have to do with that? He had a lot to do with it. They don't talk about the idea that he didn't improve anything in Florida from the standpoint of how are we doing, you know, how was education doing. He tried to privatize education. He tried to privatize the prison system. What you have, Tom, truly, what you had is Jeb Bush was the beginning of the real neocon effort throughout the country that the other governors embraced. People like Scott Walker and people like Kasich, people like Rick Scott here in Florida. They embraced the very ideas that Jeb Bush launched. And the media has done a terrible job telling the story about how crazy this guy really is. You know why? Because he looks sane. Yeah. He can talk in a complete sentence. He doesn't sound like his big brother. He sounds intelligent. But there's a real edge to that we have to understand.
I'm guessing that the Republicans are looking at it somewhat like this. Here's a guy who could be our secret weapon. He's actually fairly intelligent. He's smart enough to know what to say for the rubes.
Yes.
Right. He's smart enough to know how to pretend Tea Party, and you know, so and yet at the same time, you know, he was smart enough to suck up to the military-industrial complex and the neocon guys, which means that he's going to have billions of dollars behind him. You know, the war guys. And he's married to a Hispanic woman, and that's a huge vote out there that's potentially a swing vote.
It's a very big swing vote in Florida. Look, there's another part of the story that you're talking about here, Tom. The Value Voters Summit tells you a lot about how the real crazies regard Jeb Bush. Now, this is the Jeb Bush problem. He is more of a war hawk. He is more of an establishment GOP war hawk than he is where it comes to actually delivering certain things in the eyes of the Tea Party movement. Even though he comes from there in every sense, they're not happy with him. As a matter of fact, the Value Voters Summit, Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, Mike Huckabee, and an unknown write-in candidate all were higher in numbers than Jeb Bush. As a matter of fact, Hillary Clinton was just right below Jeb Bush where it came to the Value Voters Summit. Now, those are the crazies of the crazies. You understand? Right. Those are, and what did they get mad about? They got mad about his immigration stand. You know, he wasn't tough enough because his wife told him, "By damn, you better not be tough on this issue because you're talking about my friends and my family." The other thing was the Republican Leadership Conference, Tom. He did terrible. Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, Rand Paul, all much higher numbers than Jeb Bush. Right. So it's this odd position that he's in. I just don't think he's going to be the kind of candidate the GOP thinks he is.
Yeah. Although, you know, I remember when George W. was floating his candidacy in 99, 2000, and there was talk about how his brother Neil helped rob the Silverado Savings and Loan, yes, and this was going to come back and haunt him, and his brother Jeb had done some sketchy stuff as governor of Florida, and that was going to come back and haunt him, and none of it ever haunted him.
Well, you know why? Because the media never did anything with it.
Right.
Look, it's the theme. I know you probably tire me of talking about it, Tom, but corporate media is functionally dead where it comes to that kind of important.
And it's not just corporate media. On NPR this morning, I heard Mara Eliason talking about how in the Colorado race, the Republican has disavowed his personhood stuff, and now wants to help women by making birth control over the counter. Right.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Mike Papantonio, America's Lawyer, ringofireradio.com. Thank you, Pap.
Thank you, Tom.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.